As an aspiring design student, you realize how expensive it will be right when you make your first shopping list. As a fellow design student, I know the struggle. So let me share the ways I use to save a lot of money, and one of them that might surprise you in the end. Like with stocks, some big bad purchases most often outweigh a lot of small savings. So let's first focus on what to definitely not buy. Don't buy too many art supplies. In the beginning, I was very much guilty of that. I just wanted to try out everything. But as designers, we are not artists in the usual sense, which is especially true for product designers, because we use our sketching and drawing just as communication and explanation. It is very different from illustrators, for example, where the final outcome is the picture itself. But even illustration students don't need to buy all the stuff, because a lot of the time, limitation brings out the best work. So depending on what medium you use, just get a good basic and go from there. And to be honest, as soon as your family and friends know that you study art, they will give you art supplies on any occasion anyways, right? It's the same with paper. As a product design student, don't waste money on good paper, please. We do a lot of quick and dirty sketches just to communicate things or think them through. And a lot of those will just go right in the trash afterwards. So I learned very quickly not to spend much money on good paper, even though I love the feel and the smell of it. And the same is true with expensive sketchbooks. Because even though it's a very good idea to bring a sketchbook with you, you will burn through those pages in no time. So don't get an expensive one. To be totally honest, I recommend getting a huge stack of copy paper. Most of the time it's less than $1, and that will be more than enough for most things. And don't spend too little or too much on your laptop. You don't want to spend too much money on your laptop because you will probably not use it. Yes, let's be honest, as creatives, we are the people that workstations address. We are the people that use 3D, rendering, and 1,000 layers in Photoshop. But how often do you really do that? Are the 2 times each semester where you're really gonna need this really worth the $1,000 or $2,000 more? At this point, wouldn't it make sense to use a render service for your final project, the gaming piece of your friend, or the university's render server? I've seen people go through university with very crappy laptops just fine. But honestly, in my opinion, also don't spend too little money on it. We spend more and more time on our computers. And let's be honest, if it is just a tiny bit every single time, this will add up fast. And you also don't want to realize that in the middle of your studies, you need to buy a new laptop because your old one simply is not good enough for the basic requirements of some new programs. And in the end, you spend more money than you would have if you got the more expensive option. But saving money consistently also makes a big difference. One of the best ways is to use the university's resources effectively, starting at using all of their hardware, cameras, render stations, printers, workshop material. But it goes on. For a lot of universities, giving you all access to the software you need. And there might be even less obvious ways, like reusing waste material by other students' projects, or finding out if your university can sponsor your projects, or find a sponsor for them. It's not always possible, but worth asking, right? But it's not always your university, but also just being a student. And student discounts quickly add up. Whatever you buy, always look if they offer some kind of student discounts, because most companies do. In my experience, especially on electronics and software, that is a big game changer. And you can find those easily by just typing in the product you want and then student discount. And look for material in weird places. This is my favorite so far. A friend and I found this out when we needed a lot of small styrofoam balls for a project. Buying them as craft supplies was super expensive. But if you looked at a different application or something more industrial, for example, beanbag threading material, it was the same thing with fifth of the price. By the way, if this was helpful to you so far, consider following me for more design student tips. Bonus tips. Try to never buy under stress. It happened to me a lot, probably before deadlines. I wanted to finish up some quick mock-ups and bought way more material than I needed to. It's never a good idea to buy under stress, because you can't think straight. Quickly calling a non-stressed friend if this is a good idea, or figuring out if you can bring it back, if you obviously didn't need it, helps a lot. And something unexpected, we learn to love great products, as well as a lot of design classics. And I would have loved to have all of them. I knew their history, what made them great, the process behind it. But that is the exact reason why designs are such a big part of the design product market. Especially as a design student, don't fall into the trap of wanting to buy too many design products. Sometimes we don't have to buy them to appreciate them. But now knowing what you shouldn't spend money on, you might wonder what you should spend money on. More on that here.